Welcome to the tedious world of being a webmaster. Now we're going to have to style this page. Well, first of all, we're going to do general styling. We're not going to touch the media screens yet. What we're going to do is go in. There's all kinds of stuff that needs styling here. Let's work on the colors of this nav bar. Okay, we really don't like this right now because the blue doesn't go along with the yellow. So what we can do is we can go to Dreamweaver and we can see all the colors that are involved in our style sheet by going to Assets and Colors. These are all the colors that make up our style sheet. So let's change the color of those buttons. We go to Style Z CSS and look for the moose wrap, which is that button bar at the top. You'll see moose wrap menus right here. The functionality begins here, and generally we probably don't need to touch that. But when we go further on down to style, to begin style, this is where we begin to change the colors. For instance, the moose wrap link right now is gray. You know how I know that's gray? Because I can look down here and see the D6, 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 and in the colors I can see that's gray. Right now on the site it's blue because these are visited. You'll see that the menu visited is this 369, which is right here. So we can see that it's blue. Well, we want to change these. Let's change the background color to just yellow. All we have to do is go back to our Photoshop, click the fill color, turns into eyedrop, and now we can see that we have the yellow, and we can grab this down here, which is the hexadecimal, copy that, go to our Dreamweaver, go to our Style CZZ, paste that here, and for our visited, we will do that as well. Okay, so now if we save that and FTP our Style CSS, we can see when on reload that our buttons now are that color. Okay, we're going to make them transparent, but just so that we can see. Okay, now the mouse over is blue. Let's change that to something else. I know. Why don't we go ahead and make the hover that color? So let's just paste that in there. And let's just put this back to gray, just so that we can see what's going on. We're going to make that transparent so that the button bar will be, that black button bar will be what we see. Okay, so let's save this. FTP Styles Z CSS. Go to our site, refresh. We can see that they're gray, and the mouse over is going to be the yellow. Okay, so that's going to be the general color. I'm sorry, it's going to blink, but here we go. We can see that because it's going to be the same color on all of them, all the media screens. It's just going to disappear on the phone because we will depend on this from then on out. Okay, so the general color, because it's general, it's going to go in Style Z CSS. Okay, so we got that there. But look, it doesn't go all the way down. It doesn't fill the entire height of our bar. Now here's the cool part. If you go back to your assets or to your files and you open up in the templates directory the copy and paste pieces, you'll see there is a, okay, where is it? Let's see. No, I'm sorry. It's in the media. It's in the media CSS. Open that up. Now you'll see that at 960 or width, you'll see there is a menu, a link, and a U menu, ULUL. Here is where we change the height of that. So right now it's padding 4 on the top and 15 on the side with a font size 14. So let's just experiment. Let's put a 7 here for the padding on the top and the bottom. Let's save that. This is where the tedium comes in. Let's go to Media CSS, move it here, and you can see that it is now, okay, the padding, see how it increased, but it's still not enough. So let's go back to make sure we're on 960 in the media screen for 960. Let's add a little bit more padding. I don't know, let's put 9. That means that we're adding 2 pixels to the top and 2 pixels to the bottom. Let's save that, move it up, refresh our page. Okay, we still need some more. See how the padding is making it go the entire width. So let's go back. Let's add a couple more. Let's maybe put 11. Save that, move it up. Go to our site and see if that now fits. Okay, so now the nav goes from the top to the bottom just by adding padding to the top and bottom. Okay, but look what happens here. When we go to our next media screen, it doesn't go all the way up and down to the top and bottom. So we go back to our media CSS, go down to the 768, and let's add some padding. Maybe 7 will work this time. Let's save it. Move up media CSS. Hit refresh. Alright, no, it still doesn't do it. So, I know, let's decrease the font size first. Let's at media screen 768. Let's change the font so it'll be a little bit smaller. Let's make it 12, because that could affect the padding. Okay, and at the same time, as long as we're here, let's add some padding. Now it's font size 12. 968, you can see that the font size is going to be 14. Padding will be 11, top and bottom. But because it's going to shrink down, we're going to shrink the font size, and we're going to add some padding here. I know, this is tedious, but that's why it's pricey. Okay, so because we shrunk the size of the type, you notice how the font size shrunk down, but we still have some padding. So let's go add some more padding. Let's add 11. And see, every time you make that change, you have to test it. Oh shoot, just a little bit more. So let's go back and maybe add 12 padding on the top and 12 at the bottom. Move it up. Check it out. Okay, so now we can see that because we added the pixels to the top and bottom, the buttons go from the top of the nav bar to the bottom. So let's see if it's at what it does. So at 480, now you have to adjust it for 480. Now this is way too many. The font is way too big, because if the client adds any more pages, there won't be room. So let's go back. Now we go down to the 480, and let's make Okay, we're down at the menu A link. Let's make this, I don't know, 8 pixels. Oh, not 88. Let's do 8 pixels. And let's add some padding. I don't know. Let's try 7. What the heck? Let's save it. Move it up. Refresh. Okay, notice how the font size moved down. And maybe instead of adding more padding, maybe what we should do instead is make the nav button, the nav section smaller. So, well, pay close attention to this. Remember, on Style Z CSS, where we were creating our media screens, we can see that the navigation is 40 and the background is black. Let's grab this portion, this navigation, copy it, go to the media, which affects the size, and let's paste that inside the 480. Be careful that you put it into 480. We're going to put it right here. And we can get rid of the black background because that's going to be general. Now, instead, so what we're going to do is when it gets down to 480, we don't want the navigation to be 40 pixels because that's too high. So let's make it 20 pixels. So you see, the navigation is going to be 40 pixels high until it gets to 480. When the screen becomes like an iPad or something like that, the navigation will be 20. Up to that point, it's going to be 40. So let's save this and take a look. Let's update it. Ooh, so it kind of moved down. You see how at 480 the nav bar becomes 20 pixels. It's 40 pixels, 40 pixels. But when it gets to 480, boom, it becomes 20 pixels. So that means that we can remove some of the padding from the bar. So let's go to our 480, make sure we're on 480, and let's take some of this padding off. Let's make it 5. And let's move up this the media CSS. You can't view this in your browser. Okay, so look, now it goes from the top to the bottom, and the text is small. Okay, because this is getting kind of small, we can see that maybe we can remove some padding off the side to move these buttons closer together. So let's go back here, and so if 5 pixels is at the top and the bottom, it's 10 pixels on the side. Let's move this down to, let's do 7 pixels. Okay. Let's go ahead and update our media. And watch closely. I'm going to refresh and watch. The buttons are going to get narrower. Boom. Because we took padding off the left and the right. That way we will have more space to put buttons on this button bar as we add pages. Okay, so we can see that that button bar is becoming very responsive. Okay, we don't like this gray. We don't want it. We don't want this gray. So we just did that for design purposes. So let's go back to our Dreamweaver, and because the gray is a general color, let's go to styles right here. Let's look for our moose wrap begin style, and instead of a background color, let's just make it transparent. That way there won't be any background color, and we'll do that also on the hover. So they're both going to be transparent until you mouse over, and then it'll be that sickly yellow. So let's save it. Let's move it to the server. Oh, we have to move styles up there, and when we refresh it, we now have a button bar that totally goes from the top to the bottom of the nav section, and yet we don't have a background until we mouse over. And you can see that the font increases and decreases in size as we change media screens. Okay. And then we get to the phone, and we have this going on. Okay. So what are we going to do with this button bar since all the buttons disappear and on the phone they're going to depend on this to navigate? What are we going to do with the nav? Well, here we go. Watch what happens here. When we go down to media, we will see that from 0 to 479, this is the style. So what we can do, we can go back to Style Z, find our navigation. See here, this navigation. This is what styles the navigation. You can see on the styles CSS is 40 pixels high and the background is black. Let's just copy that. Go to the media, and making sure that we're in the 0 to 479, let's go ahead and paste that. And instead of having a height and a background color, let's do display none, which means that when the screen is on a phone and the width is between 0 and 479, the navigation bar is going to disappear. So let's test to see if that is true. So we move up to Media CSS and we refresh, and you can see that the div called navigation disappears. The display is none when it gets down to the phone size. So that's how you style that navigation bar. Very important and tedious at times, but you can see how wonderful it works when it works correct.